Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Jess and you're watching Jess Reads. It's been a while since I've uploaded a video. Sorry about that. Life happens. So yeah, this is gonna be my first video of 2025. And if this is your first video of me in general, welcome. Glad to have you here. Stay a while. My hamster is making noises, so if you hear like banging on glass, that's what that is. Yeah, so I think we should just get started. This video is going to be my basically everything I've read in 2025 so far, and also I guess my February TBR, or like my February hopefuls. So yeah, let's get started. So the first book that I read in 2025 was actually an ARC that I got sent through NetGalley, and It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. Yeah. And I really enjoyed this book. It's about a executive creative. What is her title? Creative executive named Jane, who tells a lie in order to get, in order to like get herself higher up in her career. She tells this lie and it like unravels, and it's this whole thing, and I thought it was pretty good. I had rated it 3.75 stars. It wasn't like the best thing I've ever read, but I did very much appreciate, the love story, because it's a love story. Haha. So the second book I read in 2025 is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I do have the Barnes & Noble exclusive, so it's orange, not yellow. But I did end up reading it on my Kindle anyway, so doesn't really matter. But this was a buddy read that I did with my girlfriend, and I will be honest, I had trouble like getting into it, but by the time like the first few chapters were like, what am I reading? And I did have a little bit of trouble because Sally Rooney is known for not using quotation marks in her writing, so it was like a little confusing, and I was just like, what am I reading about? What is this? And then I started reading further and further into the book, and this book means a lot to me, let me just tell you that. Hamster, what are you doing, hamster? What are you doing? I can't see you. Yeah, so I rated, I'll tell you what it's about, obviously. This centers around two brothers. They're very different. The older brother, Peter, is like, he's like a womanizer, and he has a girlfriend and then like a side chick, and it's like his life dealing with that. And then his younger brother, Ivan, who is, I want to say 10 years younger than him, something like that, is a chess prodigy, and he is like famous, and not famous, like he's famous like in the chess world, and he's like envious of his older brother. And then he meets this woman who's like older than both him and his brother. He meets like she's like in her 40s, and they form a relationship, and that kind of goes, yeah, so it's dual point of view. It goes from Ivan, Peter, and then it goes to some of the women that are involved in the story, which I actually very much appreciated. I don't know, I just did. I don't know, I can't tell you why, I just did. Yeah, so I rated this book, what did I rate it? 4? Was it 4? Or was it... Yeah, it was like, no, wait. Because Goodreads says 4, but that doesn't mean anything. Oh yeah, okay, so it was just 4. I just rated Intermezzo 4 stars, solid 4. It was great. The next book I read in January was Animal Farm by George Orwell. So with this, in high school, I was assigned summer reading, as most of us are, and I read 1984 by George Orwell. I hated it, and but, I kind of just, I've heard so many things about Animal Farm throughout my life, so I just thought, maybe if I'm almost 32 now, so that's like twice as old as I was when I read, not Animal Farm, twice as old as I was then when I read 1984, so maybe in my 30s, I will have got the brain, my brain will have developed a little more, and I will maybe enjoy Animal Farm. And I am pleased to say that I did. I didn't. Okay, so it's a fairly short read, and it's basically about communism. It's about communism, and like it's literally about like what the world would be like without like structure and like all this stuff, but it's with animals representing people. And so I rated this 3.75 stars. Like I said, it's very much it's a classic, but it's like a, I don't know what you'd call this. It is a classic, but it's like a, would it be a historical classic? I don't know. But yeah, 3.75 stars. I did enjoy it, so yeah. Now, this might be one of my favorite classics I've read so far. I mean, I guess it helps that it's literally like 140 pages. So it's not like a long book or anything. So next, I read All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. This book, I don't want to say it like changed me, but like it made me think. You know those books that they just make you think. And if that says anything about how good a book is, then there you go. That's how I rate my books in a sense. So this centers around a boy and a girl. They meet at their school's clock tower because they're literally both like jumping off of it, if you know what I mean. Think about jumping off of very tall somethings. Thank you, Taylor. They meet up there because they're both having thoughts, and so the way it goes is our FMC makes it look like our MMC like saved her, like, or no, it's the opposite. The FMC makes it look like that she saved his life and like convinced him not to jump, but it's this whole thing, and she's like in the popular crowd and he's a nobody, and it's this whole thing, and but so that's like, I mean, that is like obviously a major part of the story because that's how it starts, but it's honestly like the stuff after that is what really intrigued me, and I really enjoyed it, and I rated that 4 stars as well. Yeah. The next book I read was The House of My Mother by Sherry Frankie. If you don't know who 8 Passengers were, consider yourself lucky. This is a memoir based off of true events. Basically, it's a memoir by the oldest child of a YouTube vlogger family, and I mean, you guys can do your own research on this. I don't want to get anything like wrong or like tell you false information, So yeah, I did not give this a rating, but I did, because I don't rate memoirs, because like I don't want to put like a number on somebody's life, you know what I mean? So I didn't rate this, but I did enjoy reading it. Not enjoyed, it didn't make me happy, but it made me, again, it made me think. So that is, that's all I really have to say about that. So then I read Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home. Wow. Just wow. This one, a lot of stuff happens. If you know Magnolia Parks, the MPU, so to speak, if you know them, and if you know the plots, the characters, just everything that happens, you know it's a lot. Ooh, let me just fix the camera there. You know it's a lot. And I really just, I was eating it up, but also it was like destroying me inside. So basically, so if you're not familiar with the Magnolia Parks universe, it's a bunch of like rich 20-somethings, and they're all like in relationships with each other, but also not, and they're all like screwing around and screwing each other's friends, and just it's a lot. And they get away with everything because they're rich, and there's like, anyway, there's the 3 Magnolia Parks books, and then 2 Daisy Hates books, and I've only read, there's 5 books so far. I've only read 3, so this was the 3rd book. The Long Way Home is the 3rd book. It was, like I said, it's a lot. And the way it ended, it's very unexpected. It's also, it's a cliffhanger, but it's also not a cliffhanger. It's just like something that happens. Like the way it works is you're literally just going through their daily lives. I'm literally like all over the place trying to explain these books to you guys, but that's essentially like how the books are. They're like all over the place. So anyway, my point is, I rated it 4.75. I'm not sure why. I mean, cause I loved it. I was eating it up, like I said. But the 0.25 that I took away, I think, was just because a lot happened. Like I said, a lot. That's how you describe these books. A lot. So next was a reread of one of my favorite books of all time, which is The Consequences of Falling by Liliana Hastings. There are no words to describe like how much I love this book. The first time I actually read it, I was in a mental health class. And the mental health representation in this book, like, it just kind of like all tied together, and it was, I love this book. I've read it like 7 times, but I haven't read it since, I mean, it was January, so I went a few weeks without reading it, but I read it like 7 times. But so this was like my first time reading it this year, and it was like just as perfect as I remember the first time. And I wish I could read it again for the first time, because this book changed my life. Like, if I said like any of the other books changed my life, this one like really changed my life. Oops. So yeah. And of course I rated it a solid 5 stars, because that's what I do. Oh, I didn't tell you what it was about. I don't know what that was. So this follows Nova and Atlas, and they meet at a park, and they both kind of like need somebody, but like they make it very clear that they're not gonna like fall in love with each other, and they're just gonna be friends. And then Nova needs Atlas's help to to complete like a bucket list that her dead mother like left to her. Like she wanted to go to all her favorite places and stuff. And it's just, and obviously, you know, what do you think happens, even though they said they're not gonna fall in love? And it's just so, oh, I love it so much. Actually, I have it on my shelf up there, but I was dumb and I forgot to go get it. But yeah, I rated it a solid 5 stars because it doesn't get much. I mean, if I could rate it as 6 stars, I would, but I can't. But it's 6 stars in my heart, so I guess I can. So the next book I read was actually another life-changing, like one of my favorite books of all time. Like when you know, you know, you know? And it is I'll Paint You a Sunset Someday by Bex Alexander. Bex Alexander. I'm gonna make sure I didn't get that wrong. And this is kind of, it's a love story, but it's also kind of like science fiction-y because it okay, so this takes place in, it takes place in the future, but not like the very much future. Oh yeah, it starts in 2041, and it literally December 31st, 2041 is when it starts. And this centers around Hallie, and it is basically a book about the government is giving people the gift of forgetting, which basically means it gives people a fresh start every New Year. So they literally, like every New Year's Eve, like every New Year's Day, sorry, they forget who they are. And they forget who everyone else is, and they're you know, like they know things, but like they have to like find out. They have to like rebuild their lives. Like, you know, they're not like stupid. They just don't know who they are and have no recollection of their friends, family. So they just have to rebuild their lives. And Hallie, like I said, it goes back and forth between Hallie and, oh man, oh, what was her name? It was Hallie and a student in, okay, let me backtrack a little bit, sorry. There's a college class learning from the future, learning about the gift of forgetting from the past, because it went on for 6 years, I think it was, something like that. It was like 6 years that this like, experiment went on. And so it goes back and forth between Hallie and, well, it was Hallie and Dean. That's Hallie and Dean, and then the girl in the college class learning about Hallie and Dean in the past. Does that make sense? But anyway, this book, like, really, this was a life-changing story for me. I have no idea, like, who I was before this book. Ironically, haha, forgot who I was before this book. And it's just side note, Bex Alexander, go follow her on Instagram. She's so sweet. She's so wonderful. I mean, you know, I may be biased because I love the book and I'm always like gushing about it, but like she's wonderful. So go follow her on Instagram at Bex Writes Books. I think that's what her name is. Bex Writes Books. Yeah. Yeah, and I love it. I love it so much. The next book I read was Beg, Borrow, or Steal by the incomparable Sarah Adams. I love Sarah's writing more than anything in the world. She's everything to me. I missed out on the book signing not earlier this month. It was in January. There was a book signing and I didn't go. I had the ticket and I couldn't go, of course. But, you know, life happens, so. But this book is basically, I'll read the little blurb for you just because it's here. Two feuding second grade teachers and neighbors find themselves teaming up in this new rivals to lovers romance. So yeah, it's enemies to lovers. They so it follows Emily and Jack, and so Jack ended up leaving Rome, Kentucky because he got like a job elsewhere, and Emily's all like, yay, like I don't have to compete with him anymore, like blah blah blah. And then he comes back and their feud starts all over again, and he ends up being her new neighbor, and he's like renovating his house and like all this stuff, and she's like trying to sabotage his return, and it's just and then they end up like realizing that they're not so bad, like each other isn't so bad after all, and a bunch of stuff goes down. And I really enjoyed the, I don't want to say like, well, yes, mental health representation, but also there's a certain aspect of this book that really spoke to me. I don't really feel like sharing, but to just know that it, like, that's why I love it so much. And yeah, and that is why I rated this book 4.75 stars, because like again, Sarah Adams, like I'm not gonna they could never make me hate you. So yeah. So the next book I read was Play Along by Liz Tom Ford, which is, originally I would say that this is the final book in the Windy City series, but Liz recently announced Rewind It Back, which is number 5, which I'm so excited about. Oh my god. But okay, we're not going to talk about that yet. We're going to discuss Play Along. And Play Along follows Kennedy and Isaiah. And Kennedy is, what is she supposed to be? Like the doctor? She's like the, I forget what, but anyway, she's trying to be like on staff for the base there for the Windy City Warriors, and which is a baseball team that Isaiah is on. And she's being treated very unfairly because she's a woman trying to like have this baseball job. Like, you know, she's like a woman in sports trying to, you know how that goes. And Isaiah overhears the doctor, what's his name? Dr. Frederick. And Isaiah overhears Kennedy talking to Dr. Frederick, and he's being all like misogynistic and all this stuff. So he kind of, Isaiah and Kennedy, they have this like run-in afterwards. Not run-in, like it's, I don't want to call it a meet cute because like she doesn't immediately fall for him, but it basically is a meet cute in the locker rooms. And he immediately like falls for her, and it's just a bunch of stuff happens, and eventually they end up married in Vegas. Obviously, like, you know, they're drunk, they don't know what they're doing, but they, you know, she wakes up with a ring on her finger in the morning, and they basically have to, and in order for her to like stay on like everyone's good side, they have to pretend to be married. And it works out because he's already in love with her. And yeah. Oh, and I rated it, I rated this one 5 stars. Would you look at that? 5 stars. The last book that I have read thus far is Whirlwind by Kayla Gross. I don't have like much to say about this one. It basically revolves around a student. It's a student and professor relationship. They're tornado chasers, and they basically what happens is one day they're chasing a tornado. They almost die, so they decide to like, you know, do because they almost died, and they're like, you know, what else have we got to lose? So we almost died. Let's just live our lives and do what we want to do with each other. But basically, yeah, I didn't love it. There was a lot of spice, but I'll be honest, like I like the side characters a lot more. I did enjoy like the plus size representation, and yeah, I can't really think of much. I rated it 2.75 stars because it just wasn't for me. Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the books that I'm currently reading. And I have 3 of those, so let's get into that. The first one is Unsteady by Peyton Corinne, which has really blown up. Like, it's a very popular book right now. And it follows Sadie and Reese. And basically Sadie's a figure skater, Reese is a hockey player who suffered like a really bad like a hockey injury on the ice one day, and he's like nervous to get out on the ice again. And Sadie is, you know, like I said, a figure skater, but she puts like a lot of pressure on herself, and she has like a bad home life, and she has to take care of her brothers because her dad's an alcoholic. And you know, they it's this whole thing with, you know, the two of them are just like they're going through a lot, but then they meet at the rink. And I am only, let's see, I'm 39% through it right now, so I can't really tell you what else happens because I don't even know yet, but I am enjoying it so far, slowly but surely, because I have other things to do in life. But I did start out listening to the audiobook, but I find that reading it helps me get through it better, not necessarily faster, but I do enjoy like looking at the words better. So yeah, the next book I'm currently reading is Twilight. I have not picked this up in 17 years. Yeah, pretty much 17 years, like since I saw the movie in theaters. Oh my god. So yeah, this was like a joy to pick up again. I'm only 11% through it, but I am just so like, I'm thrilled to be reading this again. It takes me back, you know? Shout out to Brit. Shout out to Brit, who loves this more than anything in the world. And I mean, I can see why so far, even though I'm only 11% through, like, yeah. I just realized I forgot to tell you what Twilight is about, but I mean, if you're around my age or even younger, like, you know what Twilight is. It's everywhere. It's about vampires and this girl it's about Bella Swan. She moves to Forks, Washington. She starts school. She meets the Cullens. She meets Edward Cullen, and they fall in love, and it's this whole thing. He saves her life from like getting hit by a car, and it's you gotta read it. You just gotta read it. It's so good. And the last book I'm currently reading is The Favorites by Lane Fargo. And this centers around Katarina and Heath, and she's an Olympic skater, and they go from, so Katarina and Heath go from childhood sweethearts to champion ice dancers, and a shocking incident at the Olympic Games brings their partnership to a sudden end. And basically, so 10 years later, a documentary, this documentary happens to like figure out what actually happened that day. And yeah, I mean, I'm 5% through it right now, so I'm not very far at all, but I'm very excited to see what happens.